kind of a lot to go through. So I hope I can get to everything. If I miss it, hopefully I can think of it. But let's start you down a little bit. So the 2-on-2 off ball. Again, the first mistake I feel like players make is if I had the ball and I just threw it over, we want to kind of take this plane going east to west. All right. In that case, we have our 2D guys out who can see the pick coming the entire way. If they can see it coming the whole way, all it is an easy switch and it doesn't really accomplish anything. All right, so we want to get on more of an I formation. So if I threw it over, I want to get up to here, maybe the top of the crease, and we talk about it a lot in box lacrosse. We want to find this defender's back. All right, if he can't see the pick coming, it makes it really hard for him to communicate, and for him to communicate, because if I'm in this position here, I can set the pick on either side. So at the end of the day, it's up to me and the ball carrier to come out with a game plan before the shift even happens, so we're on the same page. If he's a righty, I'd probably set it coming for his right, but at the end of the day, if I'm in this position, he has no clue because I can jump over here to set it, or I can jump over here to set it, and it puts them in a tough spot. All right, picks, obviously, you guys probably know, like shoulder width apart, your stick can't be out, and we can't really be moving into it like box. And I like to do what I call close the gap. So if I'm the pick setter, it's obviously up to the ball carrier a lot, but I want to close this gap on this defender. That way he can't get over top of me. So I like to say about a yard or even half a yard. So if I'm getting up here, now I'm about half a yard from him. Now I plant. Now it's his job to run right off my shoulder. And if we pause here, this defender has nowhere to go. He can't get over top. He can't get underneath. His only place to go is right into me, which that's perfect for me because now I'm closer to the goal than he is. Now I open up with my foot opening up towards the ball. Now we got our 2-on-1 to the cage. All right, so close that gap on that defender. That way he can't get over top. And like I'll kind of go through a couple scenarios. So for the first one, I won't close the gap, and we'll kind of see what happens. The second one, I'll close the gap, make contact with the defender, and then we'll kind of see what happens. So again, I'm up here. If I just set a bad pick like this, way off, he runs off, he stays back, and there's no contact, and it doesn't really accomplish anything. All right, so that's scenario one, which we don't want to do. Number two, I'm up here, I find that back, I close the gap, he runs off it, bam, now we're on our 2-on-1 to the cage. All right? For our ball carrier, he needs to be patient. All right, he can't just be running around, zigzagging around because I'm trying to set a pick for him. So we kind of need to be on the same page, and he needs to be patient. If he's a righty, I'd even say maybe shade like a yard or two off that side if I'm setting it for him, just to get him to bite, to keep him engaged a little bit. Then I can close the gap on him, bam, make contact, open up to the ball. Now we got our 2-on-1 to the cage. All right. What coaches will do, they typically say if there's contact, we switch. It's kind of the rule of thumb. So if that does happen, well, if we do make contact, it puts the defenders in a tough spot. But if they are going to cheat, we just throw in a simple little slip pick. All right, so the slip is basically the same thing. I'm up, he calls switch early, bam, I'm just off. Then we got our 2-on-1 to the cage right away. So a slip is always a good way to go. And then I kind of alluded to it to start. I love it. It's tough for people who've never set picks before, but I always love to jump to the other side as well. So again, if I'm on this back, oh my bad. Like I'm on my back here. He probably thinks I'm setting it here, and at the last second, I can flip, I can jump, and again, it puts him in a tough spot. Again, open up to the ball, and then we can get our 2-on-1 to the cage. The same thing from X. I think X is a big spot to run it from, but we can run it from the wings as well. Again, we got to get in on that V cut, find that back, and then we can go over top for that 2-on-1. Just make sure we're opening up to the cage, and we really have to make contact. Unless it's a slip pick, if there's no contact, again, he just kind of gets over, he calls the switch, he gets underneath, and there's not too much going on if we don't make contact. Any questions about some picks behind? Yeah.
Because generally at the middle school level, we didn't see a lot of 2 defenders behind goal line. Like generally we'd only have 1, but that's just because we'd have kind of 1 attackman playing X and quarterbacking. So that two attackmen behind, I like that.
Yeah. It's definitely good. I mean, again, we kind of throw it in if it's like a big little. So we want our short stick, guy guarded by a short stick, setting the pick for the pull, as opposed to, you know, the pull setting it for the short stick, puts them in a tough spot. Again, it's just really hard to defend because if they don't communicate through it and there's contact, it's just really hard to defend.
So explain that term, big little.
So yeah, big little. So like the big is obviously someone being guarded by a long stick. The little would be somebody being guarded by a short stick. It's just a college term that we use. And if you have a short stick, your job is to either dodge or your job is to set a pick for a pull, realistically. Because there's only 2 short sticks out there. So we need you doing something other than just kind of standing out. If you have a pull, you can stand out a little bit. But if you have a short stick, we got to engage them because those are the toughest guys. That's the toughest position on the field is a short stick defensive midi. So we got to make them and work them hard. Again, either dodge them, and if I have a long stick and I have a short stick, I'm not even going to set a pick. I'm just going to get out of his way. I could go up to, you know, the top of the crease, mirror wherever he goes. If he dodges right, I'm his outlet at X. But if you have, I guess, a long stick, you never want to set a pick for a short stick. Just let them kind of do their thing and then mirror off of it.
If you're picking a pull, I know you create an advantage for the blocker who now has a short stick on him.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make it that much harder for you to receive the pass? Because the pull, even though you've slipped off of them, they've got that extra 3 feet to be able to stop any sort of pass coming through.
Yeah, I mean, it can be. I think the goal of the pick is 2 things. Number 1, if we have, you know, I'll use an example because I played with him a lot. Jeff Teat, if he's being guarded by a long pull and I'm being guarded by a short stick, my job is to, again, either cause confusion and get an easy look, which doesn't happen all the time, of course. But if they do switch off of it, well, now I got Jeff Teat on a short stick, which is a great matchup for him. So, and if that is the case and he switches off, again, I'm just getting out of Jeff's way. He's going one-on-one with the shorty, and that's an advantageous matchup for us.
I got a question for you. So you talked about the pick. The guy with the ball, do you want him attacking the defender first and then rolling? Like how's the kind of communication strategy there? Because
Yeah.
if he starts out, like say you have a pole here, circle around and the pole's sitting there poking, he goes too wide and the pick will be ineffective.
Yeah. That's why it's really up to both people to kind of work together. But yeah, this guy with the ball, he needs to be patient. But yeah, if he's just kind of sitting here like this and the defender can kind of go out and poke him, you know, it's a tough pick for me. So again, like I kind of talked about shading. So if I had the ball here, you set me a pick, you're playing D on me. Again, I'm kind of here and I'm kind of bouncing around like this. That's way it's getting him moving and I'm not just like this because then he can kind of just get up on me. So I'm here, I'm shading, I'm bam, bam, now I'm off it here, bam, we can re-attack, whatever it is. We want him moving his feet because if not, the defender can kind of just sit there, look around, and it makes it easy on him. So kind of keep your feet moving in a small area, I'd say, kind of shade maybe the side that you're not going, and then you make a hard move and explode off that shoulder of the pick. I know.
What would you say to coach a kid? What should we say? What should we focus on to actually get them to play?
I know it's tough because I grew up in Canada, so they don't call it as much. And in the PLL, they don't call it as much. So it's tough. I hear you. He just has to be, everything needs to be still. And he can't be moving. He can't have his stick out. He just has to do a good job. And it takes practice, obviously. Like picking, it sounds simple, but you just gotta be patient with it. You gotta get up. I'm going, like I talk about closing the gap, but I'm still. Like I'm not moving my feet. So I get up on here, bam, I'm still, you know? As opposed to getting up here and then kind of maybe even following the defender. Like if I'm here, then he's kind of moving and I'm like this, well, that's a moving pick. That's why it's really up to the ball carrier and the picker. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it just takes practice, I think, just working on it. I think basketball is a good way to practice it.
Is that like what you did, like trying to emphasize this, because so many of them set a screen like this.
Yeah.
I just don't want them doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah, and I kind of even do it. I'm up here, bam, a little bit over shoulder width, but then we're popping out. So just try your best, just be as still as possible, but I can see how in, I guess, Texas they would call a lot of that, but they're just not used to it.
With a picker, do you care which hand he's a lot of that, or is it?
No, I'd say your strength. If you're setting the pick, get it in your strength. It doesn't, I mean, you ideally, again, if I'm setting a pick, say for a righty, I want, you know, me coming in this way so he can run off it. That way when I roll, I'm catching it going left. And same with the slip. Like I don't want to be over here slipping, because then if I'm here, bam, now I'm slipping, and I don't ever put it in my right hand. So now I'm kind of useless on that side of the field. So if you're slipping, setting it, I'd say have it going towards your strength most times. Pretty good?
Is there like an ideal pick location, like hash?
That's a good question. So yeah, we can switch up where we set the pick. I kind of talked about it. Up there is a great spot. Behind can be tough because when, you know, say you get him on a 2-on-1, when you catch it, you're behind the goal. So I think up there in that wing area is a great spot. I think GLE is a great spot because now if they don't get through the pick, when you turn that corner, now you're above the goal and you're in a shooting spot. So I think switch it up. I know I played a guy named Jordan Wolf. He loved what we call razor picks. He was the fastest guy in the field. We just put him out right there at GLE at the sideline. He just ran as fast as he can off the pick. And then again, it puts him in a tough spot. So another thing even to add off that is you got to run hard. You got to get off that pick and we got to explode out. Because if not, you know, if you stop your feet and then they get a double team on you, well, now we're screwed. So you got to run hard off that pick. Good question.